Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Powerhouse Woman Show. I'm your host, Monica Pierre. Thank you so much for joining us today. What is our show about? Our show about is featuring some of the most amazing, brilliant, and bold women out there who are not only doing amazing things, but they're sharing their treasure, sharing their time and talent, and sharing their lessons learned. Let me ask you a question. Are you at a point where you're feeling like it's best to just give up? Life is throwing things at you left and right. The mountain is so big, so huge, and you just don't know what to do. And you're thinking your only option is to quit. Well, today is the day that you find encouragement because I'm going to introduce you to someone who is absolutely amazing, who challenges us to not quit, not give up, and not give in. I am joined by the amazing LaVerne Toombs. LaVerne is author, speaker, brilliant woman, also an amazing friend. And we were talking before the show started. She has been a friend now for a very long time. We've been in each other's lives in so many ways, not just professionally, but personally as well. Hello, LaVerne. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, good morning, Monica, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, we're going to talk about your memoir, which is called Me, My Story of Perseverance and Triumph. And one of the things we like to talk about on the show is the power of story, the power of our own stories. And this book, where is it? I put it where I could find it. Now I can't find it. Your book basically is just a tribute and a testimony to that. First of all, what is it like writing one's memoir?
Well, for me, Monica, and that's a very good question. This is something that I've been wanting to do for so many years. I went back and began to think about when this vision of me writing this book about my stories. And it actually started when my oldest daughter was in junior high, which she's now 43 years old. And I knew that this is something that I wanted to do because I've always believed in inspiring and, more importantly, believing that my stories will give individuals hope. Because I know that there was one point in my life that I was hopeless and didn't realize it and didn't understand why. But then on the other hand, I wanted to still share the stories because I know how important it is to motivate and inspire individuals, to encourage them to live their vision and live their life to the absolute fullest.
Can you share with us, if you're comfortable, some of the hesitation or maybe life's realities when you had that period from when you decided you were going to do it to your daughter being in her 40s, and then you're putting the book together, which I have found my advanced copy, me. So, what are some of the reasons? And I think for powerhouse women who are considering writing their story, going from speaking it to putting it on the page, sometimes there's a lot of things that come up. What are some of the things that came up for you?
Well, one was shame, and being embarrassed. Most people only know me as a person who worked for Senator Landrieu, right? They know me as this person who loves fashion and very much engaged in the community. And so I never gave people the impression that I had another life before Senator Landrieu. No one would never imagine the fact that the things that they read in the book that I actually face because I don't wear it. And I actually wore the mask very well. And so, with that being said, one of the biggest concerns I had was worried about what people was going to say after they found out that I had another life. In regards to my relationship with my mother, my relationship with my children, my relationships, my failed relationships in regards to my marriages and my relationships. This so-called addictive behavior. So, so yeah, I gave it a lot of thought, and with that, excuse me, I had a conversation with my daughter Mary about it. She read my manuscript, and I never would have put the book out there if I thought that it would be if the kids were uncomfortable, especially her, because she's kind of like, in my opinion, the voice of the family. Um, and when she was in support of it, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. But I'm glad that I did. And it was very difficult, though, Monica. It was very difficult for me to write.
Right. And I had the pleasure too of, talking to you in different stages of getting
Right.
the book done. So I appreciate that because it basically is an honor to read someone's book, their memoir, and just be in that space and hold that for you. So thank you. So what's the biggest lesson? And again, we want to encourage you. When is it officially being released?
Yeah,
Meet
it
your
was.
memoir.
Yeah, it was released on March the 14th. They can purchase it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble and Books a Million. Of course, I have a book signing coming up on Wednesday at Salon 22. They could actually purchase a book directly from me. But to answer your question, I think you were getting ready to ask me a question about the difficulty, was it? I'm
Yeah, the
sorry.
difficulty, the challenge, because again, what I always say too when I work with clients, so I help with them with the Storymaker Academy, is we're looking for people not to be perfect. We're looking for a story that's not perfect. But again, in a way, you're just not telling your story. You're telling other people's stories, but you're telling it from your truth, from your perspective, from your memory as well. So for you, I'd like to know now, basically, when did the moment come after the conversation with your daughter, and she was on board, Mary was on board, where when you started writing, that you realized that now is the perfect time for not only the reader, but for LaVerne to tell the story and put it in a memoir.
Well, I mentioned it in my book about after I did that TED talk, thanks to you, Monica, being such a great coach and helping me through that process, I realized that that was the time because I had never shared with anyone about my relationship with my mother or my adopted mother. And I don't believe that a number of people didn't even know that I was adopted. And so in being able to talk about the adoption, talk about when I learned that I was adopted, and then began to have these types of behaviors at the time that I didn't quite understand at the age of 14 that carried on as an adult. Um, I that was the time. I said, you know what, this is the time. And the timing of it was just unbelievable because when I did the TED talk, that same year is when I got connected with my biological family on my father's side. So it was like something, it was almost like a story in itself because I had been seeking to find my biological family for years. And then for this to happen, I was like, you know what? This is it. This is the time for me to start writing. So I start writing in November. I did my TED talk in April of 2022. I start writing November of 2022 with a goal to finish a year later. I did. I finished a year and a month, but it was quite challenging. I had emotional breakdowns in between it. I went into isolation. A lot happened in writing this book, and I want to express that when I have these interviews with like yourself and others to talk about revisiting things, and it's not so much about what people have done to you per se that created trauma and some challenges in your life, but things that I did, and come to grips and taking responsibility. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
Taking responsibility for my own actions. And so yeah, I learned a lot about myself in this book. I thought I knew a lot about myself, through my years of therapy and getting the healing that I needed. But I also learned a lot more about myself that's quite interesting.
Right. And I don't know if you had to grab that door or not, but we are live, so these things happen. What has been the reaction for those who have purchased the book, bought the book, gone to your book launch events? What are they saying to you?
They are
Other than I
shocked.
didn't know. Yeah, other than we did not know.
They're like, "What? Are you kidding?" I had a friend of mine who have known me for a long time, and a male actually, and he read the book and he called me, and he was like, I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding this person. He said, you are definitely not the person who wears your past. And he was really emotional to the point that he was almost in tears because he had no idea that I had gone through those difficulties in the early years of my life. Even not, and even those difficulties in the early years of my life, but also, just maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I almost found myself going back to that very thing that I had spent years trying to recover from.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so
It's,
it's been interesting,
yeah.
very interesting.
I won't ask if there are any regrets, but what do you see as your role, particularly with other powerhouse women who want to share their stories? Because I think I for myself, I kept saying the saying that you don't look like what you've been through was so apropos because again, not only the external, but some of the things that you were going through internally, nobody really knew. No one knows until now. So kudos for number one for absolutely sharing your story. But what do you think is your role beyond selling tons of books and getting to do more talks? What's the bigger picture for you?
Yeah, the bigger picture, primarily, Monica, is this book, primarily in my life stories, is to be a light within darkness. We're living in a society now that is surrounded by darkness. And not only that, not only what's happening in our world, which is piling on more trauma and challenges in people's lives, where people already, based upon whatever it is that they're being faced with, feel as though that there's no hope for them. Um, and I'm hoping that my stories will connect. That's the reason why the book is called Me, because when someone reads the book, they'll be able to identify and say, you know what, that's me. If it's a relationship with their mother or a family member, or just the idea of forgiveness, or trying to cultivate a relationship with their children, or feeling as though that they're failed in relationships and you just can't get it right, or the idea that that you're a failure and how you have to constantly convince yourself and work on yourself that you're not a failure, that you're not perfect, that you're striving for a spirit of excellence. And so that's the message, Monica. That is, it's just pureness of my heart, because I'm very sincere about this, because I don't want to see people hurting, because I know what that's like. And so, I put it out there. It's hard for people to believe that I once was homeless. It's hard for people to believe that I was once hungry. It was hard for people to believe that I was beaten. It's hard for people to believe that, but it happened. It's hard for people to believe that my daughters found me in a very awkward position, that I regret to this day that they had to see that. But I that's the reason I put it out there, because I want to give people, help them understand that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So that's the message. That is the message.
Right. What has been and what remains the role of faith and determination in overcoming some of your toughest moments, the moments that you just talked about, going through it, and that others can perhaps use as they're facing these challenges and these, oh, I can't believe that this is happening to you moments.
Yeah, I think for me, Monica, is when we talk about faith, and I hold on to that scripture that says faith without works is dead. But not only that, but faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. And so at the end of the day, I hold on to God's word. And that's all that I had. I didn't have anything else. And I didn't even know how to pray, but I knew that there was a God. And I just prayed it through, and with hope that he would answer my prayers. And he did. And so when I look at myself in the mirror every day, I see a miracle. I
Mhm.
really do. And it took me years to be able to look at myself in the mirror. I was 36, 37 years old when I finally decided to look in the mirror. And that's because of a woman encouraged me to look at myself in the mirror. to help me with my communication skills, with my people skills, with my interaction skills, because I didn't have it when I started out at 36. And I tell people all the time that I didn't really start living and actually seeing a light, the dim light at the end of the tunnel, until I was 36 years old.
Wow. Powerful. What do you see as the power of never giving up? Because we don't want to paint it like, oh, I just got knocked down and I got right back up again and everything was fantastic. What is the power of never giving up and what can it look like?
Well, Monica, for me, I have been knocked down and stayed down for a minute. I actually threw in the towel, but obviously God had another plan for me. And I really don't know how to answer that question, Monica, because when you have been almost like at the very pits of hell or at the very bottom of life, it's really hard to find the strength to get up, because that's reality. And I want to be a realist here. It took me a minute for me to get up. But for some reason or another, I had a vision, and that vision never died. I knew that there was something more for me, but I just didn't know what, right? And again, I have strong faith, and I tell people all the time, I'm not one that go to church every time the door is open, but I have strong faith and trust in God. And that's where my strength lies. It is. The vision never died. And because of that, I was able to find the strength. But more importantly, Monica, it was individuals like you and a number of other women in my life who saw something in me that I was not capable of seeing in myself. So they helped me. And so mentorship and what's the other word? Stewardship is very beneficial in all of our lives, no matter what age, for us to come to a rescue and help. And I've been rescued, I can't tell you how many times. When I think about Diane Lusher, again, who encouraged me to look in the mirror. When I think about Kathy Hayward, who at the time owned Camellia Beans, was the one who said, you could do this, LaVerne, when I didn't think I could. And I did. So a lot of it has to do with prayer, but more importantly, it has to do with individuals who are willing to take you under their wing and motivate you and encourage you and walk you through the process because they see potential.
Wow. What a powerful, powerful interview. Thank you so much. The book is called Me, and it's my story of perseverance and triumph, and very real, very raw, very needed in this time. So I would hope the Powerhouse Women community that you help get this book in the hands and hearts of so many people. We're not just pushing books. We are talking about living testaments of moving forward. We all get knocked down some way, somewhere. And just because a powerhouse woman that you admire may look like it's all together, everything falls into place, we don't know what is really going on. And we don't realize how important our words of encouragement, support, or even that look of understanding. I see you. I may not be able to fix what you got going on, but I do see you. LaVerne, thank you for writing the book and sharing your stories in the book, because there are quite a few. It takes us on a journey as well. Again, how can people learn more about it? Wherever books are sold, tell us about that, and even your website.
Well, thank you, Monica. And of course, you contributed a part of that book. This is not your first time contributing towards my book. You contributed on my book back in 1996, 97. So that's how far back we go. And so thank you so much for your support and being there for me, and the fact that we've been for each other. So I'm glad for what small contribution that I've made in your life. I'm so honored to have that opportunity, and that you've given me that opportunity to contribute. So in regards to the book, of course, they can purchase it on Amazon. They can purchase it on Barnes & Noble and Books A Million online. I also have a book signing coming up on the 16th of April this coming up Wednesday at Salon 22. The details, I think, is on the website, but if not, follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and I encourage you to follow me. I'm an interesting individual to follow, as someone told me just the
Interesting
other day.
individual to follow. I like
That's what they say. You are an interesting individual to follow. So yeah, just LaVerne Toombs. And also, if you want to hear more about that TED Talk, just pull up my name, LaVerne Toombs. It pops up. It will bless your spirit. I promise you. It's about the F bomb that
yes.
Monica and I actually, to this day, I can't figure out how we came up with
I
that
know.
title, but we
I
did.
tell
And
people the reason you work with the coach is because things happen and the collaboration is there. I want to say hi because this is the kind of show where we bring in our guests for live. So Angelique from Canada, yes, and also Angelique Benet has a TED Talk and a book on
oh,
visibility.
awesome.
She is a great person to follow as well. The dynamic Courtney P. Yes, thank you so much. A fellow broadcaster, also got things going on, a television show, and my sister Patricia, absolutely my sister. So thank you. My
Oh,
literally
well,
my
thank
youngest
you.
sister.
Okay. Is that your twin?
No, that's my youngest sister.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of a big fan, like five kids.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank
Yeah.
you all for joining this morning. I know I had reached out to a few family members, but of course they work for a living,
Right.
and so they probably weren't able to make it. But I know that you do recording or where they can
Yeah,
see.
yeah, I will send you the recording and share it. That's what it's, and of course, you can share snippets of it. I know you have a team working with you,
Yes.
and they can take it. Yes, Angelique says she loves that my sister is here. Absolutely, and you have a beautiful sister as well, Angelique. So I know how that support is. So thank you so much, LaVerne, for being
Thank
with
you,
us.
Monica.
Yes, hang on just a second. I'm going to just say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Powerhouse Woman Show. I know you've heard something. I know you've connected with something. I know you've been sitting on and waiting for the perfect moment to start writing your book, telling your story, sharing your story. But the moment is now to do it. And if the moment is now, I am here to help you. It is not just something that I talk about or have an offer out there, but the Story Maker Academy is the place for you to start nurturing that story, developing that story, and delivering that story. We have a new cohort coming soon. So just reach out to me, storymakeracademy.com. Oh my goodness, Gina. Hey, I know everybody's kind of finding. And as you find the show or you see the show later on, please reach out to us as well. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of the Powerhouse Woman Show. Bye-bye now.